We're recording. Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Schwab with Matthew Schwab Speaks, here with a project called Matthew Schwab Listens. As you probably well know, is a YouTube podcast series where I interview people in my life who are doing great things and also ask them unique questions. Today, our special guest is the National Down Syndrome Society's Director of Advocacy, Anna Fedawa.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Matthew. So great to chat with you and appreciate you inviting me to be a guest. This is so exciting for me.
Thank you for being on this episode.
Of course, it is my honor. I will be honest, I've never been a guest on a podcast or YouTube video before. So this is a first for me, and no better person to do it with than Matthew Schwab Speaks.
Thank you. So we met in Minnesota we met in a Down syndrome conference in Minnesota when I became and that's and then I became involved with the National Down Syndrome Society's Down Syndrome Ambassador Program. My first question is, what is the DS Ambassador Program?
Yeah, great place to start. So the DS Ambassador Program, which of course stands for Down Syndrome Ambassador Program, is NDSS's grassroots advocacy program. So basically what that means is we have volunteers from all over the country who have decided that they want to volunteer their time. They want to learn more about advocacy, as well as policy and how they can advocate for the Down syndrome community in their local communities, at the state level and at the federal level. So a lot of times people think of it as a strictly policy focused group. And while we definitely have a focus on policy, it's something that we think is really, really important here at NDSS. And obviously, in my role, I do a lot of federal policy work. But we also allow advocates and create opportunities for advocates to be engaged with their local communities as well. So things like getting them connected with their local Down syndrome organization, and doing work with local leaders in their community. So going out to their local chamber of commerce and talking about employment, talking to medical care providers in their local community, things like that. And then, of course, what a lot of people think about and love to come to us for is our state and federal policy work. So getting volunteers connected, and trained and educated on how to be effective advocates to state level officials, and federal members of Congress and their staff.
That's awesome. I'm glad to be part of that program as well. Can can you tell the audience about what you do for the National Down Syndrome Society?
Sure. So my title is the Manager of Federal Government Relations. So in my current role, I oversee all of our federal facing work, both with Congress and also through regulatory and sub-regulatory work, which is when we work with agencies like the Department of Education, Department of Labor, Health and Human Services, things like that. So my job is to really be a voice for the Down syndrome community every day here in DC, to these elected officials. But my really favorite part of my job is that I also get to do a lot with the DS Ambassador program and with, more engaged directly with the Down syndrome community, because it's my personal belief. My job is to do that day in and day out, is to be that voice. But I think the voices of people with Down syndrome and their families, and their loved ones are what are truly the most powerful. So while I'm here day in and day out, it's always my goal to bring to the forefront the voices of people with Down syndrome, self advocates, as much as we possibly can, whether that's bringing you into DC and setting up a meeting, or training you so that you're able to connect, in your local community as well.
We definitely do deserve your voice.
Well, I'm honored that the Down syndrome community has placed, and NDSS has placed this trust in me and allowed me to be that voice. And I think, again, one of our big priorities is to make sure that we're really representing the community that we serve. And so that means, again, my favorite part of my job is having these conversations with you and with other advocates, and
Yeah,
staying plugged in. And we get to do that a lot through the DS Ambassador program, so that I know what I should be saying and what I should be advocating for, that will actually be beneficial to the community we're serving.
definitely. What is your favorite thing about your job?
Ooh, that's a tricky question. I really love my job. I've been here a long time. I started as an intern with NDSS, and I always joke I loved it so much I just never left. I I love being here in DC. I'm originally from Texas, so it's really fun for me to be in this environment. But I think my favorite part of my job is getting to work with the community, but also my colleague Kayla. She's gonna love hearing this when she watches this. But Kayla McEwen on our team, many people probably know her as the first registered lobbyist with Down syndrome. We work really, really closely together to oversee the DS Ambassador program and also all of our federal policy efforts. And Kayla is just an extraordinary woman. And a really incredible colleague and friend. And NDSS employs several other self advocates with Down syndrome. So again, it's not just my voice and what I think being at the forefront. It's really the voices of people with Down syndrome, which I really love and appreciate about NDSS. And it makes my job really fun. And Kayla's just a tremendous person to work with. So I really love that I get to do that.
She's definitely awesome. And I know you work great with people.
Thank you. I try.
Thanks. What inspired you to pursue this field of work?
Yeah, good question. A lot of people here are parents of people with Down syndrome. I'm not a parent. I'm really young. And I also am not a sibling. I have a lot of really, really good friends. I would say some of my best friends in my life who have Down syndrome and other disabilities as well. My best friend Sam, who I know from home, does not have Down syndrome, but does have another chromosomal difference. And just growing up around so many people with disabilities and some of my best friends having disabilities, I knew that I wanted to use my skills and my passion to make broader change for people with disabilities. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. Again, I kind of stumbled onto an internship here with NDSS and something just clicked. I really felt like this was a place where I could accomplish my goals, but I could accomplish them with the people I loved and the people I cared about and in pursuit of making the world a better place for everyone. And so I would say definitely my friendships with Sam and one of my best friends in college, Lexi, had Down syndrome. Just so many people in my life that I loved and cared about and encouraged me to pursue this field.
Um, well, how long have you been involved with NDSS?
So coming on 4 years, I always joke if you count my internship, I've been here a little bit longer because I was an intern. And then as soon as my internship ended, I started working for NDSS. So if you count my internship, I'm already at 4 years, but my official employment started with NDSS in October of like 3 years ago. So I'm close to 4 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's been a good ride.
Yes, definitely. We're definitely lucky to have you.
So thank you.
Please,
I'm lucky to get to do this work.
thanks. Please tell our audience a bit about yourself and your family.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm originally from Texas, Houston to be exact. I grew up there my entire life. I did my undergraduate at the university or Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. I lived in Texas my entire life. I have one sister, Melina, who's currently in nursing school at the University of Arkansas. And then my parents, after I graduated, actually moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we're all a little bit all over the place, which is really fun. I'm really close with my family. I'm really close with my extended family too. My grandparents, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, they just mean the world to me. And most of them, all of them really are back in Texas or my parents in Oklahoma. So moving here was definitely really far. It was definitely a big, big move for me who's lived in Texas my entire life.
Oh,
But I
yes.
get to see them really often and always just enjoy getting to spend time with them. And they've been so supportive of my dreams and goals and my crazy dream to move across the country and live in this big city. They've been nothing but supportive. So I'm really lucky to have them.
They're lucky to have you as well.
Oh, thank you. They may not think that all the time, but just kidding.
My family and my family and I have traveled to DC several times.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite places to visit, but my favorite is the Smithsonian.
Oh, I love the Smithsonian.
Yes. And what did it for me was that like I'm almost 26, so years ago when the second night at the museum movie came out, the Battle of the Smithsonian, that's what sparked it for me.
Yeah, that's so funny. I was just in the museum that it was filmed at the other day, and I was telling my friends, we have to go and watch that movie now, so you can actually see, like,
Yes.
wow, I've been there. I know exactly what that looks like. Yeah, these
Do
museums here are
you
great.
do you love the movies?
I do. I love the movies. My favorite Smithsonian. I don't know if you've been to this one, the Hirshhorn Museum. It's an art museum. Have you been there?
I'm not sure if I have.
Okay, next time you're in town, then you and we'll make sure we block off some time and go there. Because that's one of my favorites. But I love movies set in DC. I love history and art and all of that. So it's really cool to be kind of in the epicenter of everything happening.
Yes. My favorites are the three night at the museums. Like I literally grew up watching them.
Yeah,
I
yeah. So
still
then it's
have
cool for you
them
to
at
come here
house.
and see them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that connection.
And speaking about DC, so mm, can you tell our audience about the annual advocacy conference and Hill Day event?
I would love to. It's one of my favorite activities or events that we do here. So, the annual Down Syndrome Advocacy Conference takes place here in Washington, D.C. every spring. Last year was in April. We're still finalizing our 2024 dates. So, we'll be able to share those hopefully very, very soon with the interested attendees. But the whole goal of the conference, kind of like the DS Ambassador program, is to bring people with Down syndrome, their families, their loved ones, their friends here to DC so they can use their voices to make change at the federal level. So, what we actually do is you come in, we train you for an entire day on what to say, what we're advocating on, who you're going to be meeting with, everything you need. We always say this conference is for everyone, even if you've never advocated before. You can come in, we train and educate you. And then the second day of the conference, we set up meetings for you with your elected officials on Capitol Hill. So last year we had over 250 meetings set up, and it's crazy. I loved it so much. It was my favorite day to just be in the Capitol or on the Capitol grounds and just see everybody going to their meetings, talking with their members of Congress and their staff, educating them on Down syndrome. And on the issues that are important to our community. And then you're able to leave and know that you've built this relationship, you've made this change really happen by using your voice. So it's a really cool event, a very powerful day. And again, we host it every spring here in DC, and we'll have dates for spring 24 coming out very soon.
Yes, and to our audience out there, last annual conference advocacy and Hill Day conference, um, I was one of the two keynote speakers for the event, and it was a blast.
Well, you were tremendous. You were a morning keynote and just energized the entire day. I was telling everyone, like, man, I don't think we could have gotten through that long of a day with training if it hadn't started with Matthew. So, yeah, that's definitely, I think, another big draw of the conference is getting to come and hear from incredible speakers like Matthew himself. You really got our day going on the right foot.
Thank you. So, I love history. My favorite time period is the 1500s. What period would it be best to be born in?
Oh, that's a hard one. I also am kind of a history nerd. I really like history. I really love, I mean, every time in history has its problems, right? So setting aside all of the problems of the time, I really love the 1920s and Gatsby era and
Oh yeah,
glitz and glam and fun stuff.
like Judy Garland, Wizard of Oz, Fred
Yes,
Astaire.
yes, I love that. I think that would have been a really fun time to be born or be around.
Yeah, and also I'm a history nerd myself. I've been a history nerd for a long time, for years, but for the past 2 years, about to approaching my third year of nerding, and that's the main reason why I love the 1500s. Almost three years nerding about the colony of Roanoke.
Oh yeah, that's like real old history, and we're not far from that here in DC. So
Oh
that's cool.
yeah,
I do think it's. I've told my friends before, and they laugh at me. But when we're driving around in Virginia or other parts here, I'm like, can you guys imagine that these were the original 13 colonies? That's crazy. And now we're just driving on the freeway, going to the mall. Like
yeah,
that's so crazy to think about.
and technically they're not the 13 original colonies because technically the first two, the colony of Roanoke and Jamestown, are the two originals.
That is true. That is true. I can't dispute that. But it is cool to be in a place with so much history. So I'm sure you also love coming to DC.
Oh yes, and I actually went went there with my dad about 3 months ago to
Oh,
the colony of Roanoke. We saw the play for our first time and went to
yeah.
the Wright Brothers Memorial.
Yeah, so cool. So cool. There's never ending things to do and learn and
Um,
study. So
yeah.
awesome.
Aside from St. Augustine, Florida, North Carolina is like the second oldest state if you count the Roanoke colony.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because St. Augustine, Florida, was colonized and established by the Spanish in 1565, and the
Oh
colony of
God.
Roanoke was established in 1584, lasted for 3 attempts until totaling 6 years until 1590.
Man, this is certainly a period that you clearly know way more than I do about. We're gonna have to
Yes,
schedule a totally separate time for you to just school me on all of
definitely.
these important facts. So cool.
Yeah. Aside from being a history nerd, what else do you like to do for fun?
Ooh, I have a lot of hobbies and I don't always do the greatest job of seeing my hobbies through. I like go through phases with them, but I really love to dance. I love ballet specifically. I did ballet for like 14 years growing up. And so I get involved with an adult ballet group here in DC. I really love arts and crafts, anything to do with like I just moved and so I redid my entire room, a bunch of furniture. I love like decorating, needle pointing, painting, lots of different arts and crafts. And then I also really love reading and live music. I go to a lot of concerts, a lot of music festivals. DC is a good place for live music. But yeah, I really like music and art and dancing. Anything creative has always been something I've been drawn to. So I know you have a lot of creative hobbies as well. We've talked about that before.
Uh, Definitely. And do you have a long commute to work? What usually do you do on your commute to work?
Yeah, good question. I don't have a super long commute. I take the train to work, the metro system, which
Oh,
again,
yeah.
coming from Texas was very new to me, very cool and exciting.
Yeah.
It's like the subway system in New York. And I live about 6 blocks from the United States Capitol. So I have a beautiful walk over to Capitol Hill. If I'm going there for a meeting, I just walk. But if I'm coming into our offices downtown, I take the train. And I typically my routine is I will put in my headphones when I start my walk to the train station and I listen to a morning podcast with current events and, keeping me up to date on politics and things like that, as if I didn't have to do enough of that in my job. But I listen to that for about 5 minutes and then I just put on music that I'm enjoying and listening to lately. And typically on the train, I'll also read a book or listen to an audiobook. So I'm constantly got something going in and I like to sit in silence. So
Definitely. So, what is your my best vacation was out west. What's your best vacation?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I should have mentioned that in things I like to do. I love to travel, and surprisingly, I get to travel a lot with this job. I get to go to a lot of different conferences and events, which I always love to do. I think my favorite place, and I guess I would go there on vacation with my family, but one of my favorite places in the world is called Mackinac Island. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I'm not.
Okay, Matthew, I'm about to put you on. You're gonna have to go.
All right.
Mackinac Island. It's this really small island off the coast of Michigan and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan over on the Great Lakes. And it's beautiful. It's this tiny little 8 mile island. You would love it because it feels like you're going back in time. There's no cars allowed on the island, so you have to
Oh,
bike everywhere or take horse-drawn carriages, and everything's just very historic. All of the old, beautiful buildings. They have a fort on the island, like from war times. So it's a lot of history and it's just beautiful. And it's a much slower pace of life, especially compared to DC. And you're just kind of in this little island up in the Upper Peninsula on the Great Lakes. And anyways, it's beautiful. I could talk about it forever, but it's a special place for my parents. They honeymooned there, and so they took my sister and I growing up. Um, and I loved it.
that's perfect. So, what is the last question? So,
Mhm.
the last question is: pretend you're interviewing me. What is
Ooh.
Question would you like to ask?
Oh man. Oh, I have to think about this one. I feel like I know we talk a lot and I know so many interesting things about you and so many things. Love to learn more. Well, I think I would love to know if there were one if there was one thing that would like change your life, one issue or problem that you're facing, that you would want to see solved. What is it? And is there anything that I could do to help you solve it?
Oh, so definitely the unemployment rate, and
Mm,
because out of the employment is 20%,
yeah,
yes, underemployed, and that is not good. I'd rather
yeah,
change that to 40 or 80% fully employed.
yeah. Fully employed, meaningful employment, right? Getting paid
Yes.
fairly and well and what they deserve. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, I know we've talked about it already. We've got,
Yeah.
things we're working on, but
You.
that's always good. See, that's always my first question for people is what do you think is the biggest problem and what can we do to help solve it? So,
I think the other biggest one is Social Security, because Social Security
mm-hmm,
has been penalizing our population for either working or penalizing us for overworking, and that's
yeah,
not good. And threatening marriage,
mm,
and threatening to lose our making us lose our benefits when we're married, and that's not good.
yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. It breaks my heart because that's not something that I have to face. It's not something my sister or my friends without disabilities have to face. And so to think that that's a choice that someone would have to make just because they have a disability it's so wrong. You're right. It's awful and it's wrong. And
Yes.
one of the policies that we work on is to fix that. But I think even it's hard to see um, that reality in those decisions that people have to make. So,
Yeah, and the other issue is the innovations waiver. At least for, I'm not sure
mm,
what it is for other states, but for North Carolina, we have many bills, legislations, and laws revolving around the innovations waiver. But I think that's
mm,
like a 5 to 7 year rollout, but that's too long. And
yeah,
and they only hand out a handful of slots. Like I think maybe somewhere between 25 to 3,500, which is
yeah.
not too bad. But if they did that amount within the course of several months, that's more ideal.
Right, right. Progress sometimes can be very, very slow,
Yes.
and really disheartening. But I think what's cool is we have people like you and our DS Ambassador program, right, that show that this type of change is impactful and it's needed and it's happening. And while sometimes slower than we would like it to be, all progress is progress, right? We're getting there together.
And will you please tell us how people can find more about the National Down Syndrome Society?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the best place for anything NDSS is our website. We have a resource library with thousands of resources, maybe not thousands, hundreds of resources at least, available to anyone all for free. You can also call our helpline if you don't see answers to information you're looking for. And then specifically to get connected with our policy and advocacy team, we have a whole page on our website for our policy and advocacy. You can learn more and apply to be a DS ambassador. You can sign up for these really cool things called action alerts, where you're actually able to email your elected officials all through our software and system, where we write the template for you. You get to fill in, a few sentences about why bills are meaningful to you, and then we send it and we take care of everything for you. So a lot of different things to learn about and push through in our policy and advocacy team. And then my colleagues would probably also really love if I shouted out our socials, specifically our TikTok account. We're very popular on TikTok, got a lot of really cool videos all done and centered around self advocates with Down syndrome sharing their stories and advocating. And so definitely check us out on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't think it's called Twitter anymore. I don't know. I'm not on it. X or whatever it's called now, but we're everywhere. And that's a great way to stay connected with us too. Are you on Twitter? Do you tweet?
Was, but not anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I've never really been into Twitter, but apparently it has a different name now. So I don't know. I think we're over there. but whatever social media people use, we're likely on it. So
All right. Thanks again. I love learning more about you.
awesome. Well, thank you again for having me. This was super fun, and I love getting to chat with you every chance we get. So I appreciate you inviting me.
Thanks. And I'm pretty sure I'll see you like in a day or two for the next DS Ambassador meeting.
Yeah, we have an employment one coming up. So actually this month we're going to do a whole training on National Disability Employment Awareness Month, which is not this month, but we're preparing for it, and engaging and galvanizing our advocates to go out in their communities and advocate for some bills as well. So I'm really excited for that one. I don't want to give too much away, but it'll be
Good.
a really
Yes.
cool
I look
advocacy
forward to that.
opportunity. Yeah, we'll see you there.
All
Great
right.
talking to you, Matthew.
See you then, Anna.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye.